In our last video, we created our first OKR. We created a 2024 annual Invest in Our All-Stars. We also created our first key result, 10 graduates of a Mighty Middle leadership program. The best practices for key results is to have between 3 and 6 key results. In this video, I'm going to get into a little bit more specifics about the different types of key results you can use in Viva Goals. So now, to add on to more key results to the objective Invest in Our All-Stars, I'm going to roll across the name Invest in Our All-Stars, and there's a couple of ways that I can add a new key result. The first way is this little button that shows the little drop down. It's called Child Items. If I click on Child Items, you can see I have 3 choices. I can add a key result, a project, or another child objective. In this case, we're going to hit Key Result. There are 2 other ways that we could get to the same thing. We can actually click on the objective Invest in Our All-Stars, and then it opens up this little sidebar window on the right, and you can see there's a little submenu there, and we can actually hit Key Results, and then you could also add a key result from this little sidebar menu. So now let's go ahead and hit Add a Key Result, and now it's going to open up in our sidebar window a new key result. And so the second key result for Invest in Our All-Stars is we've decided to invest in training in AI and maybe some new tools, and we're going to increase our productivity. And we've decided to measure that using Greg Crabtree's direct LER, and we're going to increase it by 10%. Again, always recommend that you add a metric for your key results. We're going to add a metric. We're going to name the metric DLER. And now we're going to go to this second pop-up where we have different types of targets. We talked about reach in the last video. Reach is when you start with 0 and you're trying to get to a certain number. Now we're going to look at the second option, increase from. So it's assuming that you're starting at a place not 0 and you're trying to go up. Notice we could do the same thing with decrease. We could say decrease churn from 10% to 4%. But in this case, we're trying to increase our DLER by 10%. So I'm going to hit increase. And you'll see now it gives us 2 choices. We've got the increase from and 2. Now we know today that our LER is at 2.5. And so a 10% increase would be to get it to 2.75. Now we could just stop here. We can go to the progress and status. I'm going to update these manually. I'm responsible. I don't need to add any details. We could add a description, tags, and so forth. But I do want to show you with the increase from, there is an advanced option which comes in very handy. It's called Add Phased Targets. So I'm going to click the Add Phased Targets. And in this particular case, what it's doing is it knows that this is an annual key result. So it's showing me from today, which is December, we're at 2.5. And it's saying at what point do you want to be across the course of the year if we're trying to get to 2.75. So let's just say that in Q1, we're investing pretty heavily in training, so we don't expect to see any results in Q1. So I can come down here to the phase targets and I can actually change this. And I can say at the end of Q1, we will be 2.5, but I would like to see us at 2.65 by June, the end of Q2, by the end of Q3, maybe we need to be at 2.7. And so you can see now our phase targets, and that's what's going to determine to show us whether we're ahead of schedule or behind schedule on our direct. So there we go. That's our second type of key result, the increase from. Now, I'm going to go ahead and show you 2 other types of key results in this video. So I'm going to use the little drop down and I'm going to say create another key result for our objective. In this particular case, we've also decided we want to track our team member retention. We've had some issues in the past. So we're going to say maintain team member retention above 90%. And so let's take a look at this again. Always add a metric. I'm going to click add metric. We're going to call this retention And then again, from the drop-down menu, we have another choice. It's called Stay Above. So again, this is assuming that we're already at a 90% retention and we're just trying to stay above that. Notice we could do the same thing with Stay Below, but I'm going to select Stay Above. I'm going to put in the number 90. And so now our goal is to stay above. Again, we can look at the other two sections, progress and status. We're going to update these manually. I'll show you how to do that in the next video. I'm the owner, and again, we don't need to add any details. But I do want to show you an advanced feature, which comes in very handy. Because we're trying to stay above 90, at what point do we want the system to say that the key result is behind schedule? And so we're going to do what they call a risk threshold. And so you can see here, we want to see across the year above 90%, but I'm going to set a risk threshold of 80. If that number ever falls below 80, I want to show that the key result is behind schedule. It's basically a way to say, what is the flag where we need to say there's a problem? So I'm going to add our risk threshold. And now I'm going to say create. I'm going to use the drop down and I'm going to say create another key result. And we're going to do one last type of key results. And in this particular case, we've decided we want to start using the ENPS program. We've never used it before. So I'm actually going to make the key result establish ENPS. And again, I'm going to add a metric. Always add a metric to your key results. We're going to call it ENPS. And from the drop-down menu, we're going to do something that's very unique, but is really powerful. And it's called Find a Baseline. Because we've never sent an ENPS out before, we don't know where we're starting. So we don't know what the goal should be. So I'm going to say Find a Baseline. And if you notice, there's no number to put in. Because basically what it's going to do is it's going to use our progress, which we're going to update manually over the course of the year, to basically start establishing and tracking what is that number. And of course, we can change this later on in the year. Maybe we get to the point where we know that we're currently at 50 and we'd like to get it up to a 60. So then we can change this from Find a Baseline to Increase to. So again, that's our third type, key results. And so now, if we take a look at our finished work, we now have our objective, invest in our all-stars. We've got 4 key results that will tell us how we're making progress. 10 graduates of the Mighty Middle program, increase our direct LER by 10%, maintain team member retention above 90%, and we're going to establish an ENPS. In the next video, we're going to talk about how do we actually maintain these, and we'll talk about these other columns. If you have any questions, please let me know.